So we got some trade optimism today, and the markets ended up for the day, which was nice. I think the Dow was up 100 points. It's always the indices, the index, that the news channels and the business channels always say and talk about. It's like the Dow is so irrelevant. It's the S&P that you really want to watch. This is How to Build a Tent. Welcome. My name is Matt Williams. I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate those of you guys watching live. I'm starting to just televise or live stream, I guess is the modern way to say that, the show for the day ahead. So if you guys want or interested in interacting and watching the show live, you can just jump on my social media sites and I will send out a post before I do it just to see if anybody on is wanting to come join and be part of the conversation, because I'm really enjoying this. We're doing this Reformgelical, which we just did our show last night. Oh, man, it is so good. It is the perfect balance of discussing meaningful things and being entertained, at least for AD and I. For some of you guys have been asking about the audio of that. We are definitely going to be releasing them on YouTube on Fridays. This Friday, we'll release episode 1 and 2. On the first episode, my voice is super deep because of technology issues. The second one doesn't have that issue. So if that bothers you, just go right to episode 2. And of course, help support us. Can you go over and subscribe? I mean, right now, $2, you can lock that in price in every month and you can be part of the show. Like literally asking us questions. We try to incorporate the people that are there in the show and all that good stuff. So appreciate you guys just thinking about supporting us. Just $2 a month is a big deal for us. So appreciate that in advance. We are part of the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Another way that you can support all of the Fight Laugh Feast Network, go over to fightlaughfeast.com, put an HtBT in the memo field, and you will get a HtBT mug like the one in my hand, 15 ounces, that holds all of your beverages. And if you put that code in, you'll get the mug, you'll get pint glasses, and you will also get tons of great content. And when I mean great content, I mean great content. There is no other network out there putting a Christian perspective on such great content and excellence of podcasting as the guys at the Fight Laugh Feast Network. It's amazing. I mean, we are, as a network, going to hit 3 million listens this year. That's absolutely incredible. Just 3 years ago, Cross Politics started as its own show. And I came on. We made a network. And it's just been a fantastic ride. I am so honored to be part of the network and all of its good stuff. If you have any questions, comments, you want to reach out to me, you can email me, matt@howtobuildatent.com. Find me on the social media sites, How to Build a Tent. I love hearing from you guys. And I love being able to assist you and help you as you guys push forward on your entrepreneurial ventures, your financial decisions, and your career moves. And we're going to talk about that today. I got a YouTube comment because we're doing the video now. So if you want to check over YouTube, you can do that. I'm asking about what they should do for asking for a raise. They're starting to get their business asking them to do more work, but they're not getting paid more. So what do you do? So I want to talk about that. We've talked about it a little bit before, but it's really important because businesses treat employers differently than they treat companies. And so if you're going to be asking for a raise, there's a lot of things that you should be considering. Before we get into that, I just wanted to get the highlights of the economy. So they were expecting I think it was 219,000, that's the way to say it, 219,000 jobless claims, and it came in at 210,000, so 9,000 lower, which is great. They were also expecting the CPI, which is the inflation index where they measure inflation. They were expecting that to be up 0.1%, so very low, and it came in flat. And which means that I think the Fed is going to take more liberty in lowering interest rates and trying to get an increased inflation rate. And their target is 2%, and it's flat right now. And this is scary for me in a lot of ways because we don't know how to raise inflation. If your target is 2% and we're not getting it, it's because you don't have the power or you don't have the knowledge of how to get inflation up to that rate. And I don't even know if it's possible anymore in the global economy we have. And what's scary about that is it doesn't mean that it just can never go up. It may be able to go up, but it might go to hyperinflation. We look at other countries. Obviously, they're not the standard. They don't have the dollar as the reserve like we do. And there's so many other things that go into it. But we see these other countries that have hyperinflation because of and this is important, it's because their governments have run their countries into the ground. It doesn't just happen by chance that there have been men equally as smart. They're not dumber than our country's leaders and our Federal Reserve. In fact, they're often trained at the same schools, which is a scary thought. They make bad decisions. And so there's these terrible inflation. And a lot of it has to do with the policies they implement, fiscal and monetary, which is the legal, the tax side, the presidential, tax cut and things like that. And then also the monetary policy is how much money is in interest rates and all that stuff. It's a very scary world, and it's very scary when men think that they can control it. And that's when it always goes off the rails. So that's a little scary to me that we are not seeing inflation, not because I want inflation, but it's because the Fed, who's in control of our economy, is trying to get it and can't get it. And they're going to be continuing to try things to get it. So that is why it's scary to me. To me, we don't know the era we're in. We don't know all the factors, the drivers of inflation anymore. And all of the old models have to go out the window because we are in a global economy. And yet we are acting and basing all of our models and all of our strategies and tactics based on an isolated country. And it's just not going to work, guys. It's not going to work. So we definitely need prayer for our leaders, and we need godly wisdom in our leadership for sure, which is why we need successful economists. We need Christians to go into the field of economy, the field of economics. Oh my goodness. Which I love it. I should have become an economist, but I would I don't know. Another life, maybe another life, who knows? Or an alternate universe, like some scientists are positing today. I'm like, oh my gosh, can you believe it? Like there's infinite amount of universes. Just like the rejection of God is insanity. Okay, so I got this question. This guy, I'm going to remain nameless for, autonomy sake or anonymousness sake. Gosh, I was doing this in my podcast yesterday with AD Robles. I was like saying the words in my brain, but they were not coming out of my mouth. So I apologize. I'm so sorry. But this is a common thing that businesses will, for whatever reason, to save money and not having to hire somebody, or they're going to let somebody go and try not to replace them and have an increased salary to pay for, but to just get other people to take on more work. And you're basically increasing your job description. And what they are doing is trying to increase the value they're getting from you. And this is where the value equation comes into handy. Remember, from the very first episode, and this is why it's so important, or this is why I led with it in my first episode, because it's so important. Like the world makes sense with this equation. Value is derived. You see the value you get from two elements: benefit and cost. Benefit minus cost equals value. How much benefit, whatever that is, it could be expressed in many different things. It could be how you feel. And the cost is usually in dollar amount, but it can be time. It can be other resources. It can be an opportunity cost. And what your companies are trying to do when they're doing this to you is to give you more work, which is increasing the benefit they get for your salary, the cost. And when they can increase the benefit for the same cost, you become more valuable to them, and you're providing more value because you are able to do more. You're giving them a better benefit for the cost that's staying the same, that's staying constant. And we look at it like a company is being super cheap. They are asking me to do more money, or they're asking me to do more work, and they're not going to pay me for it. And I always think of it in terms of being a vendor. When you are providing a service as a company to another company, when you're a company to company or business to business, you have a contract, and it's like, I will do this for this amount of price. And then if they want more services, then you add on the price, you add on to the price, because that's not part of the original contract. But companies don't see it that way. And oftentimes employees don't either. So you have a few options. And the first one is, I hope you've been taking my advice and diversifying your income. And this is true about businesses, and this is also true about you as an employee to a company. the more streams of income you have, the less any one of those streams has control over you. And we see this with the NBA in China, right? China is a huge stream of income to the NBA. And so they are going to sell themselves out for the NBA and whatever they stand for. They're not. So that's just another story. So if you have a job, your main job, but you have also investment income, you have a side hustle, and you have other flows of income coming in where if you lose your job or decide to quit and really negotiate hard with your employer, that you aren't in a terrible situation because you have these other streams of income to help you as you are transitioning jobs. If you don't have any of that and you are solely dependent on one stream of income, then you're in a much worse place. So that's the first thing to think about is the more streams of income you have, the more independent you are, the less beholden you are to your company. And the second thing that I want you to be thinking about is, do you want to stay at this company long term or not? Because what you want to do is have as much value as you possibly can to the company, because that's when you get promoted, that's when you get recognized, and that's when you get to stay at the company when layoffs happen. And the trick is to be able to, as those benefits increase, the more you do, you want to keep doing that to get more of a value. Because the truth of the matter is you are always going to be paid less than what you're worth at a company, or you're going to not be providing value. If your benefit equals your cost, the value is zero. So just, you have to accept that you are always going, when you're working for somebody else, and this is why I love entrepreneurship and doing my own thing and being my own boss. When you work for somebody else, you're always going to be paid less than you're worth. It's just the cold, hard truth. Okay, so if you want to stay in the company long term, then you want to increase that benefit. And the trick is how can you justify your cost going up, but in a way where you still are providing value? And what you want to do is provide data. You want to provide facts. And a lot, you can start with the job description. This was my job description and what you wanted to hire me at, because they're going to pay you originally from when you first got the job. They're going to pay you at a ratio they're comfortable with. That is, they believe that the benefit outweighs the cost and they're comfortable with that ratio. So as you add more to the benefits pile, then you can say, okay, so now I'm doing X amount more than my original job description, and I think that it's worth X amount of money. And if you come from a mathematical equation like that, it's going to be really hard for your company to argue with you about it, because you can explain to them this value proposition. And like, I'm giving you all this benefit that we didn't agree with, and I should be compensated for it. Now, how hard you drive that is going to be dependent on how much you need that job, how transferable your skills are, how many other streams of income you have, how much money you have in savings account, and how long you can go without a job. Like, these are all outside factors that should come into play with you as you're making these decisions and negotiating with them. Also, I highly recommend Chris Voss's book that we're reading for the HtBT book club, Never Split the Difference. They will give you great tactics going into these conversations and help you negotiating, because that's what this is. It's a negotiation. And then lastly, I want to one of the other questions that we were asked, and I mean, we're already going over, but I'll just finish it up with this, is should you talk about it before you start doing the work or after you start doing the work? I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter. I mean, maybe you would actually look a little better if you started doing it and you didn't complain about it and you were positive about it. And then you can just kind of say like, hey, I'm taking on this work. I'm more than happy to do it. I'm glad that I can help out. I'm glad that I can have the capacity to be able to do this and provide the value for you. But I think that since we are expanding my job description, it is the fair and equitable thing, throwing those kinds of words, that it's only right that I should have my pay increased as well, because I'm saving you X amount of dollars. You don't have to hire somebody else. I am providing this much more value than you would if you had to give it to somebody else or whatever it is. But the more rationalized you can be, instead of I just feel like I should be paid more, the far better off you're going to be in the better results. And again, there's some great tactics in the book we're reading for the book club right now for this. So if you are looking for a raise or looking for how to talk to your boss, I highly, highly recommend. You don't have to join the book club. I would love you to. That would help support me. But it will also you can read the book on your own and not be part of the book club like a lot of you have. And you'll get a lot of great negotiation negotiating tactics from that and ways to talk, ways to handle yourself, and all that good stuff. And hopefully you'll get that raise. I hope that answers your question. If you have any more questions, please reach out to me, how to build a tent, Matt at howtobuildatent.com, or just comment on the post wherever you see this, and I will monitor it and get back to you. Now let's go out, be successful, get that raise, and talk to you tomorrow. God bless.